Hello, Bryan Colter here, Evolutionary Astrologer, for your horoscope report for the upcoming Libra new moon that happens on October 6th. But since we're squarely in Libra season, really this will apply to this video and the next video I do, because I'll be discussing Libra quite deeply. And not only because we're having the new moon in this sign, but the new moon is also next to Mars in Libra in a super tight conjunction, so that's going to play a big role in this new moon. And we also have Mercury in retrograde in Libra right nearby as well. And it's like, oh no, Mercury is in retrograde. That's kind of been the standard joke, even amongst social circles of people who don't believe in astrology. It's just been kind of baked into our culture in a lot of ways. And, you know, that whole, oh no, it's Mercury retrograde is bottom line true. I mean, gosh, the day it stationed retrograde, we started a remodel on our house, and it's been chaos ever since. And that's kind of the nature of Mercury events. It's like data in, data out. It's the immediate and the emergent, because Mercury is the fastest planet that orbits around the sun. So it represents sheer speed. And with it being retrograde, I mean, typically technological devices run haywire. I've been experiencing that too. You know, you probably noticed there's a different background here we're working with. I'm at an Airbnb, and I've had all kinds of issues with the internet and with my email and all kinds of stuff. So it's been colorful. And also, you know, be aware of that. Be leery of making critical appointments during Mercury retrograde. Okay, you know, that's standard stuff in astrology, and absolutely valid. It's important to be cautious about those things popping up during this event. We can take it a bit deeper though, and through the evolutionary lens, ask ourselves the question, how can we accelerate our evolution and leverage this Mercury in retrograde for our own betterment in our lives? And, you know, when any planet's in retrograde, not just Mercury, the way I look at it is the planetary energy, the evolutionary intention, the implications are more turned inward or introverted, more aimed towards reflection and less about action. There'll be some action in the mix too, especially when we tie in Mars, which is a very action-oriented planet. But the intention of that planet turned inward. And I did say Mercury is data in, data out. Well, that's linked to information coming into the mind. Mercury is very much about the mind. Yes, it's the fastest planet, so therefore it represents our lightning-fast cognitive reflexes, our intelligence, our speech, things we learn, things we teach others about, the planet of communication. Healthy communication, of course, is a two-way street. So it's very heady energy. So it's the mind. Mercury retrograde, the mind turned inward, inviting us to go into a deeper level of reflection, mental reflection. And yes, Mercury is linked to the mental. So is Libra, for that matter, because it's an air sign. All air signs are on the mental plane, and Mercury loves being in air signs. So we're being asked, let's say, we don't have to do it, free will trumps all here on planet Earth, you know, thank God for that. But we're being asked by the grand archetype of all that is, to go within and do a little bit of a thinking man's pose or a thinking woman's pose, you know, just to keep it PC here, and to reflect deeply on the evolutionary implications of all the music of the spheres, of course, but especially Libra. So cutting right to the chase of the core evolutionary intention for Libra, to understand it, we always want to tie in the planet that rules that sign. So Venus, Madam Venus, the goddess of love. So she is a relationship planet, and Libra is a relationship-oriented sign. We'll say some things about that too. So relationship stuff could be up for a lot of people. But also, another core archetype for Venus is the goddess of peace, goddess of serenity. So if I was giving a birth chart reading, let's say, to somebody who had strong Libra energy, I'd say something you're learning in this lifetime is basically how to calm down, you know. And there's very specific ways of doing that, Libran ways of doing that. And finding harmonious, balanced relationships in your life is one way to stimulate that inner calm. Now, another core archetype for Libra is that of the balance. You've probably seen that online if you look up a picture of Libra, the platform balance, where you have an ounce of lead and an ounce of gold, two very different substances that find this balance point, this state of equilibrium. The Libran intention is to find that state of balance within yourself. And it's also a very artistic sign. So a very helpful thing to do right now is to create beauty, sure, but also perceive beauty. Now, why does that help us to calm down? That's a valid question. Well, imagine yourself walking downtown of New York City or something like that, very busy, very chaotic environment, and there you are, talking to somebody on your cell phone, and you're kind of lost in the conversation of that. There's that Mercury piece in the mix, and just a lot of people, the immediate and the emergent, data in, data out, and you're not really in the present moment in terms of understanding the total perception of the environment around you. And you turn a corner, and all of a sudden you're on a street facing west, and you look up and you see this amazing sunset with oranges and reds and yellows. It's the most lovely thing you've ever seen. The kind of sunset that you only see once a year, and you're just stopped dead in your tracks, and you're like, whoa, blown away by the beauty before you. And even though your mind was kind of hyperactive, and maybe your nervous system was a little tense, a little crazed, a little tight, all of a sudden you're gazing at this beautiful sunset. If we could listen to your body would say something like, we sigh when we perceive beauty. We do it all over the world. Doesn't matter what language we speak, we sigh in the presence of beauty. And what is a sigh but a release of tension, a release of tightness? So, a good prescription here for this month from Dr. Bryan here, and I say doctor very, very loosely, is to buy flowers, invest in music, surround yourself with things that are lovely, keep things clean, keep things orderly, and you'll find that outer beauty and outer peace translate rather quickly to inner peace. And the perception of beauty, even the creation of beauty through the archetype of Venus, the goddess of the arts, is a very powerful method to help stimulate this inner tranquility, but it's not sufficient unto itself. So to take it down another road, we return right back to the platform balance, and we just talked about artistry or aesthetic sensitivity. So that would be the balance between colors, shapes, sizes, and sounds. But now we can take it down another idea, since it's an air sign on the mental plane, the balance between opposing ideas. It's the archetype of the judge. People with strong Libra energies in their chart, they have a very strong knack of being able to see both sides of the equation and see both sides of everything, and recognize that two well-intended people can see reality in very different ways. And Libra folks can honor other people as independent centers of thought and action. The archetype of the judge, the peacemaker, the diplomat. And this is a powerful meditation for us this month. The balance between opposing ideas. This is really hitting the bullseye. And I once heard my teacher say, he said one of the most beautiful Libran statements he had ever heard actually came from a Libra man. I don't know if he knew if he was a Libra or not, but he was one of the early quantum physicists. His name was Niels Bohr. And he once said, I have come to realize that there are two kinds of truths. There are small truths and there are great truths. And the opposite of a small truth is always a falsehood. And the opposite of a great truth is always another great truth. Very powerful Libran statement. And this is touching on the idea that there are paradoxes in life and two opposing ideas that were equally valid and also exist in a kind of tension with each other. But together they produce kind of a yin-yang wholeness, if you will. And Libra folks have this quality of, they have a tolerance for paradox. They almost expect paradox, which makes them usually, all things equal, if you're looking at Libra in a vacuum, immune to fanaticism. So it's very important to be leery or aware of any fanatical belief systems that you may have within yourself, especially now, especially with Sagittarius in the South Node, as it has been. I've talked about that many times. The idea that the world is drunk on, in air quotes, religion, on fixed set of ideologies and belief systems. Now we can leverage some of this high-end Libra, recognizing that two different perspectives can be equally valid, And for example, let's introduce a paradox. Now, this is going to be the primary paradox emphasized now, especially as we tie in the sign that Venus is in. Venus rules Libra, but Venus is just, during this new moon, is just wrapping up its transit through Scorpio. I think it's at like 29 degrees of Scorpio, so just a couple days later it'll have entered into Sagittarius, but officially, boom, right there on the shock wave of the new moon, inviting us to play with this idea of Venus and Scorpio, which is very much in alignment, and this is creating a dominant theme right now. Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto. Mars is conjunct the new moon, as I said before, and Pluto is in a square aspect to that Mercury retrograde. Now, that's a big subject, each of those, okay? But if I had to distill it into one word, it would be truth, okay? And we'll talk more about it in a second here. But what is a paradox with truth? Kindness. So the idea that we should always try to be kind. Well, of course, no argument there. That's a beautiful thing. The notion that we should always be truthful. Of course, no argument there either. But it's not too terribly hard to find situations where honesty and kindness are opposites in a given situation. You look fantastic in that dress, honey. Obviously I'm being very silly here, but there is situations, sometimes very serious situations, where we decide to edit our own honesty, our inner truth, because we don't want to rock the boat. And that's really shadow side Libra, and we want to be very aware of shadow side Libra because everything has a more evolved expression and everything has a less evolved expression within this realm of duality between light and dark. And one of the darker manifestations of Libra energy is too much self-editing, too much compromise, too much passive aggressiveness, which leads us to feeling an internal, let's say, resentment in our close interpersonal relationships. And then that resentment eventually, if it continues, the too much compromise continues to devolve from resentment into contempt. And then once contempt creeps into these relationships, they usually crumble. So that's one of the core archetypes to do the thinking man's pose on right now. Or one of the key polarities, truth and kindness. Now, there'll be another paradox of life that we'll be able to explore on the next video because Venus will then have entered into Sagittarius, which brings in a completely different paradox for us to muse about, okay? But with all this Scorpio energy, Scorpio is the digger. It brings about a certain level of sometimes drama in our life. It's about uprooting some of our triggers to go through a process of transformation, especially with both of Scorpio's rulers so strong in the mix, being Pluto and Mars. So what's the correct decision here? Is this about kindness or about truthfulness? Which is it, Bryan? And it's somewhere along the lines of yes, both. We're returning to the archetype of the scales. How can I find a healthy balance? This is a core evolutionary intention for, I'm tempted to say, the collective or all of us. But of course, this new moon is going to be more powerfully placed in some individuals' charts more than others. We always have to honor that. I'm generalizing to a wide audience here, but it's like, how can I find a healthy balance between honesty and kindness? That being said, with Pluto square Mercury and Venus in Scorpio, and also even Mars, the war god, conjunct the new moon, all these features have a word in common, which is truth. Standing in your truth, moving forward with courage as a warrior wants to learn when to set healthy boundaries, when to draw your line in the sand, and learn that, I guess you could say, the art form of intimate conflict, and recognizing, like the Libra method can, that there's two legitimate perspectives that operate simultaneously, which are very much in tension or friction with each other, and we're all independent centers of thought and action, and to be able to maintain the bridge of rapport, which is very strong Libra energy, whilst also speaking our fierce truths. That's the Scorpio, that's more of the Pluto piece. And that may involve speaking your truths in a very Libran way, which is to say graceful, eloquent, respectful, perhaps lacing your language with disclaimers, caveats, and prefaces, so that you can somehow maintain that bridge of rapport while also coming with your own authenticity in your relationships and any kind of relationship, really, without the more egoic dark side of Pluto and Scorpio, which is, I'm going to come with my truth no matter what, and if I trigger you, so what? I'm a truthsayer. That's a lower response of Scorpio. Yes, if you're carrying Scorpionic energy, you're meant to be a truthsayer to a certain degree, but that needs to be coupled with a spice of compassion, recognizing that not everybody's wired for such hard truths, like Scorpio folks are. And if you're going through life saying, I'm going to trigger you, I'm going to speak my truth, kind of on the war path, that's going a little bit out of balance with the scales, more towards the martial, Scorpionic, Plutonian piece of intensity. Meanwhile, you're dynamiting the bridge of rapport, and it can be pretty chaotic and create some psychodramas in your life. So it's like, how can we come from love and compassion, the light side of the force, if you will, this more virtuous place, and maintain that bridge of rapport with also maintaining our own authentic self-expression. Now, I'm talking about, interactions with other people and different relationship dynamics, obviously, because that's really, Libra and Venus's domain. But on a more personal, inward, reflective, sort of mind turned inward, Mercury retrograde point of view in terms of our own personal journey, this is also a good time to do some pretty fierce introspection. Look through the mind and even your own emotional world and figure out where there's some woundedness within you, okay, that you can work with, that you can transmute from pain into love and light, and do some deep therapeutic work on yourself in whatever method works best for you. And of course, with Venus and Scorpio, especially if it's transiting through a relationship section of your chart, the universe will bring to you within your relationship dynamic situations that trigger you. Why? Why does your partner act as a sounding board for your wounded places, rising that anger to the surface or whatever it is? So ultimately, you can work on it, work with it, transmute it, and do some deep work on yourself and within the couple. And then if you successfully can go through that therapeutic healing process, you deepen the bonds of the relationship. That's not the major focus here in terms of the larger picture, but it's worth mentioning, especially if these planets are, again, going through like a relationship section of your chart. Now, that being said, there's one more thing I want to say about Mercury square Pluto. Both Pluto and Mercury are going retrograde right now, so Mercury is kind of distancing itself from Pluto, but the conjunction's still active. And then Mercury will station, go direct, and then we'll see that square come into effect very strong again this month. So it's a dominant theme of this month. And Pluto is the god of hell, so it's the realm of intensity. And as we said, Mercury is of the mind. So this is about very, let's say, emotional charged material coming to the surface through the mind, through speech, through talking, through ideas, that kind of radically shift your perception of reality. Because Mercury, yes, it's about communication and thoughts, but underlying both of those is perception. So in light of that, it's really how we see our reality. I'll put it in air quotes, really, it's an illusion, but the reality we see. And then what's really classic for Mercury-Pluto squares, and we'll see this happen a lot within the collective, but also in a lot of people's personal lives, is data in that's Plutonian, that's earth shaking, emotionally shaking, okay? Like the doctor walks into the office and says, "I've got bad news." Some information just hits us like a ton of bricks, really just throws us off kilter. All of a sudden we perceive reality completely differently. "I've got bad news," says the doctor. Oof, Or here's another one. Your mother says to you, "Your father's not really your father." And then your sense of reality cracks wide open. So Mercury square Pluto is investigative. It likes to look beneath the surface of things intellectually. And there is some darkness, which is Pluto's domain, that's going to come to the surface that will shake how we perceive reality. It's like, whoa, didn't see that coming. And it's going to be Plutonian, which is to say taboo, which is going to be some subjects that many people prefer to remain in some form of denial, some form of rationalization or compartmentalization about that subject. That's what makes it taboo in the first place. So just be aware of that. And, people who resonate with these planetary energies will probably find themselves being more investigative, being more of a digger. If I see a very strong Pluto in somebody's chart, like one of my clients, like a Pluto-Sun conjunction or something like that, I'll say something like, you have the identity of a psychologist or a private detective, this instinct to ferret out the truth, to look beneath the surface of things, to think a bit suspiciously. And some of those investigations, driven by that suspicion that something's not exactly right here, will uncover something taboo. Okay. And some people will remain in denial about those taboos, and that's perfectly okay. But this is unsettling information rising to the surface. And if that happens, always circle back to Libra. That's like the hub of the wheel of this reading. It's how can I remain in balance? However this chaotic environment, presents itself to me. How can I stimulate that inner calm, that inner serenity? How can I possibly make a perpetual peace treaty with chaos? That's one of the core evolutionary intentions right now, with the goal being to expand our consciousness. Now, that being said, per usual, we're going to transition into the meditation now. And this one will be focused a lot on the head center because this is Mercury. A lot in the heart center, since we're talking about kindness. So truth, kindness, head, heart, and then also guiding you through a process of what I call finding your inner sanctuary, because it's within our inner sanctuary in meditative states that we can find the deepest levels of calm and bliss. So enjoy. We're going to begin by just focusing on the breath. Inhale through your nose and feel the oxygen enter your body and feel your belly expand and then your lungs and chest. And as you exhale from the belly first and then the chest. So always belly first. Nice rhythmic breathing. Do a nice 4-second inhale and a 4-second exhale. And no pause between the in-breath or the out-breath. Comfortable breathing. And on the next inhale, visualize a snow-white etheric vitality coming in with the oxygen, coming into your lungs and belly, and then dispersing throughout your entire body. And with each inhale, you bring in more of this snow-white energy and see it travel through your entire body. And as you exhale, the air goes out, but the energy stays in. And with each breath, you see this white color in your body go brighter and brighter. body of light. And with each inhale, this light is suffusing with every cell of your body. And now maintain this visualization process for a few more breaths. Now I want you to visualize going to your inner sanctuary and visualize a place that is sacred to you. This can be some sort of building like a temple or a mosque or something like this, or a cabin out in the woods, or some pyramid, or out in nature like a lake or a beach. This place that brings into you pure serenity and bliss, brings you into your own sacred space, where you can commune directly with what you consider to be the divine. And as you visualize yourself in this place, add as many colors, sights, sounds. Feel your feet on the ground, whatever that feels like. Make it very tactile. You might smell some odor like an incense, or hear some music playing, or the birds chirping, whatever it is. And make this visualization as vivid as you can. And each time you return to this sacred space, add more and more detail. And I'll give you a few moments to playfully co-create with the divine as you make this inner sanctuary. Now set a strong intention to carefully reflect on the energy of Libra as you try to find a healthy balance between kindness and honesty. Now I want you to visualize in your sacred place a sky blue color somewhere. If you're outside, that'll be easy. Just look up at the sky. If you're inside, maybe look out a window or some sky blue object in your sacred space. And really focus on that color. The frequency of sky blue is about serenity, peacefulness. And on your next inhale, visualize breathing in this sky blue color into your body and see it rest in your stomach and create a sky blue sphere in your abdomen. And with each inhale, you see this sky blue color grow brighter and brighter. You're bringing into your consciousness this very peaceful color. And focus on this visualization for a few more breaths. Now move your attention to your chest area. And now visualize a pink sphere, a rosy pink sphere in and around your chest. And with each inhale, this color grows brighter and brighter. And with each exhale, the air goes out, but the energy stays in. And as you're visualizing this pink color, feel self-love, unconditional self-love. You're an amazing extension of God, and honor the beauty that is you by feeling this self-love and gratitude. Now move the attention to the thyroid area and visualize an orange color as a sphere that's about the size of your fist. And with each inhale, you see it become more luminous. Now focus on the head center and visualize a white gold sphere in and around your head. And with each inhale, you see it burning brightly, almost like a golden sun, in and around your head. And all your thoughts are quiet. This also strengthens your creative thought center. And helps you to think more positive and noble thoughts and intentions. with each inhale, you see this sun shine out in all directions, so bright it's blinding. And hold this visualization for a few more breaths. And now add the visualization of a golden halo above your head and above the golden sphere. And with each inhale, see that halo blazing in a white light. Now try to visualize all the colors at the same time. The sky blue sphere in your stomach, the rose sphere in your chest, the orange sphere in your throat, the white gold sphere in your head, and the bright gold halo on your head. Try to visualize them all at the same time. Now return your attention to your entire body, seeing that snow-white etheric vitality radiating in all directions from your body. And begin to stretch a little bit. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And whenever you're ready, open your eyes.